Hey, what's up, people? Piz out here, and continuing with my series, the 13 Days of Friday the 13th. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about Freddy versus Jason from 2003, a movie that I'm sure most of you guys know had a very, very colorful production history, going all the way back to Friday the 13th Part 7. That was the first time that Paramount and New Line tried to get together to bring us a Freddy versus Jason movie. It didn't happen. Finally, New Line bought the rights to Friday the 13th, or to Jason, I should say. And even then, it still took a decade for us to finally get Freddy versus Jason, which was, for me, for my generation who grew up watching these two franchises, arguably the two biggest horror franchises of the 80s, this was the ultimate event movie. This was the stuff of just endless, playground debate and, just talk amongst friends, amongst, horror friends about, who would win in the inevitable, throwdown between these two titans of terror. And the final product is Freddy versus Jason. And I'm going to be really, really brutally honest with Freddy versus Jason. I think it is an awful movie. I truly, truly do. And I think all the blame can be laid squarely at the feet of New Line Cinema. And New Line Cinema has always sort of proudly flew the flag of horror. New Line is the house that Freddy built. New Line has always been about, going out there and getting, genre movies and releasing them and treating genre movies like, like a big deal, which a lot of the studios didn't. New Line did. And they flew that flag very, very proudly, that we were sort of the guardians of horror. And, what better place for Freddy and Jason to come together, and just the production process, the development hell that the movie was in for a decade, all the storylines, all the writers, all the scripts that they'd come up with, Freddy versus Jason battling it out in hell, Freddy cult, just all these far out stories. They finally, and I mean, what can you really do with a versus movie like this? I mean, the story seems so simple, so right in front of your face, that it literally took them a decade before they finally said, oh, yeah. So the first hour will just be Freddy and Jason hacking their way through the cast, and then the last half hour will be the two of them fighting it out, and, it'll just end, and there'll be no clear winner or loser, because neither character can die. So, and that would have been fine. That would have been awesome. That would have been perfectly fine with me. What Freddy vs. Jason is, really, is a cartoon. The movie Freddy vs. Jason that we have, which, like I said, the ultimate event movie for horror fans, turned into a cartoon. A corny, silly, campy cartoon. And like I said, the blame has to be laid at the feet of New Line Cinema for one decision, and that was to hire Ronnie Yu as the director. Someone who he's actually contradicted himself in interviews. In one interview, he says, "I've never seen any Friday the 13th movies." In another interview, he says, "I saw the first Friday the 13th and I saw the first Nightmare on Elm Street." And New Line Cinema went after this guy hardcore. He turned it down. He initially turned it down. And they went after him and fought to get him to direct this movie. Why? He'd never seen any of the sequels. That should have been no, next, bye. His only other real movie that he directed in the States that anybody would know anything about was Bride of Chucky. Not seeing any of the Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th sequels, that's That's the blinding, flashing light. The fact that he directed Bride of Chucky, that is the siren. That is saying, do not hire this guy to direct the event movie. The biggest event movie in horror history. Pretty much. His credentials were I'd never seen any of the sequels. And I directed Bride of Chucky. Give him the job. Give him the job. And yeah, he is the biggest reason why the movie turned into a cartoon. You've got corny, over-the-top kills, ridiculous kills, corny, silly, stupid kills. He didn't want Kane Hodder to return as Jason. Kane Hodder, to me, to so many fans of the Friday the 13th series, is Jason Voorhees. Now, there's groups of people who, they're Richard Brooker guys, or they're C.J. Graham guys, or they're Steve Dash guys. But for the most part, the vast majority of Friday the 13th fans think, to them, Kane Hodder is Jason. Kane Hodder brought a personality, a persona to Jason. Ronnie Yu wanted just a big, tall guy. He envisioned Jason as Frankenstein. He envisioned Jason as this sort of misunderstood, misbegotten, poor guy, and wanted the audience to feel sorry for him, to root for him. Jason is afraid of water in this movie. Yes, Jason drowned as a child. But how many Friday the 13th films have we seen Jason in water? Many. Just the overall treatment of Jason as this sort of, just big, bumbling, stiff buffoon. At one point, he's knocked out with tranquilizers. He can take 1,000,000 bullets to the chest and to the head, but tranquilizers bring him down. And they continue tranking him to keep him knocked out. And at one point, one of the characters is giving him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Oh, God. The acting in the film is horrific. And I've seen the actors in Freddy vs. Jason in other stuff. I've seen Monica Keena, who's the lead in Freddy vs. Jason. I've seen her in other movies. And she's a perfectly fine actress. But in this movie, it's awful. It's awful. All the acting in the film is totally awful. That is Ronnie Yu not knowing how to direct actors. The casting of Kelly Rowan or whatever, she was in Destiny's Child. Casting her for the same reason that they casted Busta Rhymes in Halloween Resurrection, to bring in a young, hip crowd. What happened in Halloween Resurrection with Busta Rhymes was clearly, I've said this before, I'll say it again, I truly believe it, was the lowest point in Halloween history. Busta Rhymes Kung Fu Michael Myers is the lowest point in Halloween history, maybe in horror history. The lowest point in Nightmare on Elm Street history, if I can sort of bring that into Freddy vs. Jason, because I'm bringing Freddy vs. Jason into the Friday the 13th universe. I'll also bring in the Nightmare on Elm Street universe. The lowest point in the Nightmare on Elm Street universe is Kelly Rowan calling Freddy a faggot and commenting on his sweater. That dialogue, the fact that they even used that word, is revolting. Her acting is revolting. That dialogue is revolting. The use of that word is revolting. Revolting. God, I mean, I really cannot think of any redeemable qualities in Freddy vs. Jason. It is a cartoon. It is corny. It is campy. It is just bad. Why did they go after Ronnie Yu to direct this movie? I don't know. I cannot think of one redeemable quality in Freddy vs. Jason. And, I've seen the movie several times. Saw it in the theater with a packed theater full of kids. And teens, not kids, teens. and they were eating it up, and I was just sitting there going, oh God. Saw it on DVD. I watched it just recently for the purposes of this series, and it really dawned on me, this is just, it's insulting. It's insulting. To be a Friday the 13th fan who watches Freddy vs. Jason should be insulted. It is insulting. It's just a bad movie. Bad movie all the way around. And like I said, all the blame can be laid squarely at the feet of New Line Cinema and their insistence on hiring Ronnie Yu to direct the film. So, yeah. Freddy vs. Jason was, of course, an enormous hit. And I thought for sure, you know, not only would the fact that, you know, it was such a huge hit afford New Line Cinema to make more Freddy vs. Jason movies, but to make more standalone Jason movies and more standalone Nightmare on Elm Street movies. We've not seen Freddy vs. Jason sequel yet, and we're going on 11 years later at this point. And pretty much New Line hoard out both Freddy and Jason with remakes. So, yeah. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of Freddy vs. Jason in the comment section below. Do you hate it as much as I do? Are there any redeemable qualities that I'm overlooking? Please point them out to me, because I can't find them when I watch the movie. It's just, oh God. Ugh. I feel dirty. It just makes me feel dirty. It makes me feel dirty. So anyway, until next time, when I talk to you guys about the 2009 Friday the 13th reboot, remake, what have you, take it easy. Peace.